You know, what can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be
Unburdened by what has been.
what we can see, what we believe can be unburdened by what has. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Who we can be unburdened by who we have been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. Where we can be unburdened by where we have been and unburdened by where we are right now. What can be
Unburdened.
unburdened by what has been. What
How
can
long
be
would we have to watch this?
unburdened by
for?
what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What could be unburdened by what had been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
It's beautiful.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
It's
What
beautiful.
can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what has been, believing in what can be. What can be unburdened by
I don't
what
think
has
we can
been.
watch
What
the
can
full.
be
How,
unburdened by what has been.
What can
Another
be
3 minutes, please?
unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be
just make sure that we're live across the
unburdened by what has
interwebs.
been. What can be
I like the background.
unburdened
piano.
by what has
Beautiful.
been. What can be
Oh,
unburdened by what has
love
been.
the
What
mask.
could be unburdened by what had been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been. What can be unburdened by what has been.
What can be unburdened by what
gonna
has
make sure we're
been.
What
Rumble?
can be what should be
What can be
unburdened
Should be.
by what has been.
Will be.
What can be
Live
unburdened by what has
on
been.
Rumble.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
been.
See what can be
we're
unburdened
live
by
on
what has
Rumble.
been.
What can
Let's
be
make sure that we're live on Viva Barnes Law.
unburdened by what has been.
It's
What
like I
can
have a
be
dream. I have a dream.
Unburdened by what has been. Unburdened by
And I
what
hear
has
the
been.
same thing.
And knowing what can
Over and
be.
over.
Have a sense of vision about what can be unburdened by what
Unburdened by
has
what has
been.
been.
To see what can be unburdened
Okay, we're
by
done.
what has been. What can be
We're live. We're live.
unburdened by what has been.
I don't know about you, but I feel dumber right now for having watched 2.5 minutes of that. And I've watched that more than once today. Everyone in the room is now dumber for having listened to that. I award you no points, Kamala Harris, and may God have mercy on your soul. What the hell does it even mean? Unburdened by what? Now I forget the expression. Unburdened by what has been. And I forgot where it goes after that. Good evening, everybody. May I be the first to say I called it. I told you so. I'm the smartest man that has ever lived. I'm not, I'm joking, but it does feel good to make the prediction a long time ago. And then it becomes more and more likely. And then everyone jumps on the bandwagon and they say, oh, I always said it. I said it before it was cool to say it. My only problem is the betting aspect of it hasn't paid off because I hedged my bets a little bit too much by betting on Hillary, Michelle, and Gretchen Whitmer, all of whom are down substantially today, because it would seem that in addition to gracefully backing out, he's sharp as a tack, better than ever, stronger than ever, he's cogent, he's mentally fit, and he's out. He got behind Kamala Harris, and it wouldn't be the first. Sorry, that's for those of you who are living under a rock and you haven't heard the news. Joseph R. Biden, I don't even know if that's his middle name. Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race today. The only question is whether or not he knows that he did. He has bowed out. I'm going to go show off my Hebrew here. We got M. Sidloy in our Rumble. It says, Shalom, David. Chazarat lemitriul. I don't know what that says. Okay, I have no idea what that says, but I'll have to look at that afterwards. Sidloy, nice to see you again. Oh my goodness. May you live in interesting times. Biden is out. Alex Jones is on Twitter yesterday with the news that Hillary's going to replace Biden. Everybody's gotten behind Kamala Harris today. I mean, I even heard that Willie Brown got behind Kamala today. Bada bing, bada boom, I'm out of here. Everybody seems to be getting behind Kamala, except if you've noticed Obama. his statement was acutely devoid of any "I wholeheartedly endorse Kamala." There will be infighting. And if anybody's been listening to me, I don't have a betting market page like Robert Barnes, but Kamala Harris at 81 cents to be the presidential nominee is very high. And if I could place another bet, I would bet against Kamala Harris right now, because there will be infighting. It will be ugly. And I am predicting that we have not heard the last from Hillary Clinton. I'm going to talk about it with Barnes when he gets in here, because I've got some insights which I think are darn good. But I had to go live, make sure that we're all good across the interwebs, make sure that I go to that YouTube thing, because we're going to start on YouTube and Twitter and Rumble and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Then we're going to end on YouTube and Twitter and go exclusive after we talk about the big stuff to Rumble and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Then we end on Rumble, and then we have our after party at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But when we go live, I've got to go and make sure that I check off that little box that says this stream contains a paid promotion, because it does, people. And that paid promotion of the day is the Wellness Company. Now, I don't know if you've been following the news, but there's news about the chicken flu, the whatever they call it, the chicken to foxes. From chicken to foxes, here's how bird flu is spreading across the U.S. This was an article in some news outlet. I don't even know. I saw this article. Ex-Harvard epidemiologist, got to pronounce that properly, professor tweeted this. And the tweet below was, listen up, I would start stockpiling these flu medicines, Xoflu, Refluenza, Tamiflu, for your family starting now. If bird flu is ever human-to-human transmissible, you will regret it when near certain shortages hit. That is coming from Eric Fagel-Ding. The Wellness Company is on top of it. If you don't know, it's been founded by Dr. Peter McCullough. The Wellness Company has what they call the Contagion Emergency Kit. It has a variety of medicines to treat respiratory illnesses, all of which you need to make sure that you avoid getting stuck in a hospital bed. The Wellness Company removes the red tape of getting these prescription medicines, which you might not be able to get in the event of the next thing, which there surely will be a next thing. Who the hell knows what the October surprise could be? What's it going to be? War? World War III? Another flu? I don't know, another political violence? Who the hell knows? Maybe it could be a white pill of an October surprise. Maybe whistleblowers from Secret Service come out and say, yep, they told us to stand down. This was a staged attempt on Trump's life. Who knows? There will be the next thing. And when that thing happens, you're going to want to make sure that you have a contagion kit handy. It's an election year, and we know how desperate each party is. The parties. So being prepared with the contagion kit is probably a good idea. It's called the Wellness Company, twc.com/Viva. twc.health/Viva. Promo code will get you 30% off, $30 off when you use the code Viva. Use my code. Take the quick intake form after checkout. Kit arrives in about 2 weeks. It's not available anywhere but in the USA. So in Canada, I don't know what you should do. I don't know how it works in terms of getting it, but it's only available in the USA. It's a prescription kit, the Contagion Emergency Kit. Everybody should have at least one in their house. And that's it. Thank you guys very much. People, what I was going to say is this. You'll notice that Obama did not endorse Kamala Harris. You'll notice that the Clintons put out some sort of half-assed, we get behind Kamala, everybody out there. But there's a lot of people on the internet who are feeling a little bit insulted right now, who are feeling a little bit lied to, exploited, demeaned, degraded. Do you understand? Like I made the joke, and when Barnes gets on here, we'll talk about it a little bit. Kamala Harris has been lying to you for a very, very long time. Kamala Harris, Karine Jean-Pierre, the inner circle of Joe Biden has been lying to you about his declining mental state. The amazing thing is the internet is what it is. You get tips, you get leads, you get all sorts of DMs, and some are credible, some are not. I had it on from a credible source. It's always hearsay. It's like I heard from somebody who heard something, and the only thing you can do to assess it is it someone I trust? Is it someone who's been right before? It has been a known fact. I think we all know this. This is the thing. It's been a known fact that Joe Biden has been suffering from dementia, Parkinson's, Lewy body, or whatever. That he's been getting treated for it. When you have specialists coming in and out of the White House, but they won't tell you who they were there visiting. Everybody knows it. It's not even the best kept secret. It's the worst kept secret. Kamala Harris has been involved in, I don't know if it rises to the level of RICO. I'm going to ask Barnes this. They've been involved in a national campaign of deceit, lies, and concealment. And they've treated their constituents like pawns in their game for political power. And some of them feel stupid, and some of them have even taken to Twitter to say that they are pissed. They feel angry. One of them I gave a hard time last week. I called the person the dumbest of dumb effers, because they are. Now they were supporting Jill Biden and Joe Biden right up until last Friday, when they were being assured he's in it to win it. He's as cogent as ever. And then Sunday, and he's out. And they're like, you made me look like an idiot on a global scale. You made me look like an idiot on social media. Maybe some of these people are bots, but they made idiots of their followers. And some of them are getting pissed. But understand this. Karine Jean-Pierre, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Jill Biden, crackhead Hunter Biden, they have been lying to you for years. Everybody knew it. He's probably been getting treated for dementia or something for the last extensive period of time. When they say February, he had a full physical, no need for a cognitive test. You're damn right. There was no need for it, because he can't get one and then have to disclose that information when you know that he would fail it, when you know that he's being treated potentially somewhere. So this has been going on for a very, very long time, and they've been lying to you right up until after they tried to assassinate Donald Trump. Well, that didn't work. So now we've got to pull him out. Change the news cycle a little bit. Let's stop talking about that itty-bitty botched assassination attempt on Trump, and let's start talking about Joe Biden out. New invigoration for the party. Younger, dumber, and more female. The dumber and female part are unrelated for you people out there who are going to accuse me of misogyny. Kamala Harris happens to be a woman, and she happens to be as dumb as a bag of rocks. Unburdened from what has been and what will be. So they've been lying to you, and everybody's been realizing it now. Let's discuss something before we fall too far behind. Dread Robert in our locals community says it was a letter. Do we know that Jill approved it before the release? I said it. I mean, I've been calling it. I've been on fire lately. Joe Biden didn't realize his exit strategy, his exit plan, the request that he drop out of the race. It wasn't a question. The government, as we all know now, especially the tyrannical kind, at first they ask and then they don't, which leads me to believe why it might be, why Obama might not be endorsing Kamala Harris. They might have come to Obama and said, yeah, Michelle, you should really think of jumping in the race for the Kamala, what's going to be a contested convention. Yeah, you know, deep state, I really don't want to. I kind of like our Martha's Vineyard property, and I don't really want to jump into that. Yeah, Michelle, it wasn't a question. You've got a family, and we're the deep state. So, yeah, we weren't asking. So now you got Obama coming out and saying, yeah, Joe Biden's been great. Won't endorse Kamala, because they might also see the writing on the wall. Those buying you off in advance, the bribery, the $600,000 an hour for speeches. You thought that was free? Ooh, well, you were wrong. I'm going to send Barnes the link one more time here. That wasn't free, and you're not off the hook yet. We might still need you. I do also believe that this has the fingerprints of Hillary Clinton. She's 76. If she ever wants to be the first female president of the United States, and you know that she does, this is her last chance. In our locals community, Cookie Queen SQ donated $100. Thank you very much, Cookie Queen. Making me hungry. We got, at this moment, we should focus on what we can be, unburdened by what has been. Cackles and cankles. Oh, can you imagine a Hillary Clinton with or maybe it's a VP. It's Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton as her VP. And no, she'll be 80. It's too late. It's too late. All right, let's get through some of these here. When are they going to break the news that he's no longer running for president? Bada bing, bada boom. We got M. Sidloy in the house who says, that is M. Sidloy right there. Sunday Night Fun says Mr. Repurpose. Now, I have to make sure, I might have to add the caveat now. In our locals community, we're reaching crowds levels where it might not be sustainable to guarantee the ability to read all Rumble rants, super chats, and tips without it turning into a show that consists only of reading support, which is fantastic. Well, I'll have to consult with Barnes in real time when he gets here. Panther AI says, the real question of the day, will the DNC settle this madness before the convention, or will we get the grade A entertainment of a contested convention in Chicago, no less? And it is Alabama. Oh, it's AL, not AI. Okay, fine. So Al, thank you. History doesn't repeat, but it tends to rhyme. We're getting a 68 contested convention. Barnes wants to go down, and he's making a joke that we've got to go down. But I ain't going to Chicago on the best of weekends, let alone on a contested convention weekend of a bunch of demons. I'm talking about the Democrat politicians. I don't know what their delegates are like. I'm not going to Chicago. When I had on just yesterday, Michael Yon, and he says, like the adverse journalists are the targets. It's like when he was telling us how journalists get killed in battle, the combat journalists, when they're documenting war and crimes and et cetera, they get targeted because the enemy doesn't want independent, trustworthy journalists exposing their criminality. And so they actually target them. Anybody who's a meaningfully honest and reputable analysizer, guy who analyses me, I'm not going to Chicago. There would be no safe place for Viva to go talk to people on the street. It would be an unreasonable, irrational crowd that would not be safe. But bottom line, there will be a contested convention. We had AOC just yesterday saying, who the hell do you think? We're not sitting here just going to jump on the Kamala Harris bandwagon. I mean, who do I look like? Joe Brown? Bada bing, bada boom. That's going to get old, but I'm going to keep doing it. AOC comes out yesterday and says, we're not just going to back Kamala Harris because you tell us to. This is not how it works. RFK Jr., right before this stream, was given a press conference. I don't like the tenor of it because he's lumping together Joe Biden and the Democrats with Donald Trump and the current ticket, which I don't think is a fair thing to equate. There is a world of difference in morality, ethics, spirituality, and policy between Trump, Vance, and whoever the hell is going to be on the ticket for the Democrats. The Democrats, politicians, capital D, they are demons of the highest order. I mean, just like if we just go through some names: Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer, Joe Biden, AOC, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton. I mean, they're awful, awful, immoral scoundrels of people. That's not to say that Republican and GOPers are honorable people. It is to say that Trump is, and JD Vance is. Period. I don't need to say anything bad about anybody else, and I don't need to, be broader than that. The current ticket is a man who got shot in the ear, stood up, not knowing if he was safe to do so. He's told the shooters down. He has no idea what the hell's going on. Puts his fist up in the air. In the first time any of us have ever seen him as a bona fide, sincere, genuine human, acting in the most natural, unscripted way, puts his fist up and says, fight, fight, fight. And JD Vance, we know him. Hillbilly Elegy. Been on the channel. Awesome guy. We are dealing with those two people compared to the roster of scoundrels, crooks, liars, and demons that you have on the Democrat ticket right now. It's an amazing thing that for everybody in America, those are the representatives of the Democrat Party. Hakeem Jeffries, a man who is still out there inciting hatred and violence against Donald Trump, as far as I'm concerned. Who else do you have? Oh, yeah, the eyelash lady. What's her name? Crockett. And you got the Squad. Then you got Bernie Sanders, Ralph Nader, Adam Schiff. I mean, these are the worst people on earth. Oh, yeah. Okay, so let's see what we got here. JD Vance called it when he predicted the VP debate. Did I get this one up here? JD Vance called it when he delayed the VP debate. It was a troll that turned into reality. It's an amazing thing. Then we got, use the 25th. Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the vice president, the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take the office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses. Well, but I'm going to hold on a second. How do I get this out of here? Okay, let's do another one. And I'm going to do something else before we get started here. Matt Hammond, did you see the Senate whistleblower report of the failure of Secret Service released by Senator Ron Johnson from RCP reporter Susan Crabtree on X? I have not. Let's pull it up right now, shall we? Bada bing, bada boom. And it says, breaking, Ron Johnson and his staff have written an initial report from... Let's bring this up. Hold on. I'm going to bring this up in incognito. And then I want to bring something else up that came from a member of our community, which I talked about yesterday, but now I've gotten some clarifications that I think are useful to bring to... Oh, hold on a second. We got something here. Using Rumble Studio. Do I see Barnes in the house? Yes, Barnes is coming in. And you know what? Before Barnes comes in, let's do the second sponsor of the night, shall we? What a time, people. We're living on the verge of a 1776, the time we take our country back. And I'm referring to America as our country. I am. Oh, Barnes, you might be on the screen. You're on the screen, sir. How's it going? Well, enjoy the coffee ad. Here, let me thank our fine folks at sponsor 1775. You know what? I'm going entirely off script. We are entering a 1776 moment of the highest order in the most meaningful sense. We have companies that are creating a parallel economy while creating impeccable products. 1775 coffee is one of them. First of all, I like coffee. I drink coffee in the morning. I've actually started going back to coffee in the afternoon to try to, whittle out of that unhealthy energy drink habit. 1775 coffee is absolutely delicious. Grown at the high altitude mountains of Bolivia, ethically sourced. It's a company that respects free speech and respects your dollars. It doesn't treat you like an idiot, like the Democrats treat their constituents. They treat you like the valued customer that you are. And they're creating a parallel economy, sponsoring Rumble. It's a company that produces amazing coffee. They've got dark, medium, peaberry. I prefer dark. Let the jokes roll. And you will not regret getting it. Go to 1775.com, 1775coffee.com, promo code VIVA, and what do you get with the promo code? 10% off your first order, so make it a big one. It's delicious coffee. Everybody drinks coffee. Support a company that likes you, respects you, and create the parallel economy. Robert, have you broken into the Capitol? You look at this magic that we have going on behind us. Can you move your head to the side for a second? This is unscripted, people. It's level. It's out. Okay, that's actually kind of cosmic. Where on earth are you?
In Pennsylvania. Was here for the case on Thursday. Have another case on Monday and Tuesday, and then head back to Vegas on Wednesday, and then probably on with the Duran to break down everything again from a geopolitical global perspective on Thursday.
Robert, okay, before we even get into it, everybody, the links to the sponsors are in the description. Look, if this is not Robert, it happened. He freaking backed out. Whether or not he did it, he's out. Can the times be more unprecedented than they currently are?
It is definitely a wild time to be alive, or as the Chinese proverb / curse says, let you live in interesting times. No doubt about that. I mean, we have Biden's withdrawal from the race, Soviet style. we have all the legal implications and ramifications of that. We have the Trump assassination attempt and the further information and developments on that. We've got election cases out of the Ninth Circuit. That was the top topic voted on, other than those other topics, tonight at the vivabarneslaw.locals.com board. False advertising cases concerning elections as well. We have the Trump documents case being dismissed for the unauthorized appointment and the appropriations in support of Jack Smith. We have Hunter Biden borrowing the same concept to say his cases should also be dismissed for inappropriate Justice Department approval, though he might be getting some good news very soon in the mail. We got the J.D. Vance, the vice president. We give you some background on him and explain to you what a useful idiot or fool is. And we'll use as our example the one and only Whitney Webb, who does the deep state's bidding as well as anybody. She just doesn't know it. We have the Splenda. We got a couple of fun cases. The Splenda class action, web squatting. People don't know that's actually a illegal thing to do. We got a lot of interesting news about Chicago 1968 style coming up soon. But it includes a lawsuit about how close the protesters can get to the convention section. We got drag queen story time and trainee birth certificates at the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. Do first graders have First Amendment rights? That's up to the Federal Court of Appeals. We've got the Ninth Circuit wanting to rewrite the Second Amendment all over again. We got the International Court of Justice against Israel. We've got Huckabee suing Facebook over them promoting gummies when he has done no such thing. And of course, all the political news. So it's definitely a full package tonight.
Robert, what good news is Hunter Biden expecting in the mail?
Now that Papa Joe is not going to be running for re-election, I anticipate those pardons are coming soon.
Wow.
What other incentive is there for him to hold back now? We'll see. I mean, for those that don't remember the Soviet, I'm disappointed I lost my bet. I thought Uncle Joe would hang in there just a little longer. I underestimated the Soviet-style Democratic Party. I mean, Barack Obama really thinks that the Democratic Party is indistinguishable from the Soviet Union. From those who don't know, in the old days, the Soviet Union would take their premier out to his dacha in the summer, much like Biden was taken out to the summer home in Delaware. And unbeknownst to the premier, he would hear on the radio the announcement that he had resigned from office. Here you have Joe Biden doesn't make any video statement at all that he is resigning. A statement gets placed on Twitter, on X, that purports to be a letter from Joe Biden saying he's not running for re-election. It is the weirdest announcement of that kind I have ever seen. And we still have to ask, what do you think the odds are that Joe even yet knows he's not running for re-election in 2024?
Robert, I saw something earlier it was scrolling up in the chat, but it's moving fast. A question as to whether or not he even signed the statement or whether or not the signature was his.
The signature looks like it's a copy of his rather than his natural signature because of how it fades off in certain ways. So handwriting experts are doubting that Joe even signed it. Though given his mental state, he may not have known what he signed, even if he did sign it, that he knew what he was actually signing. It's just very unusual that this kind of statement isn't made in person. Mm-hmm. So as soon as it happened, I was like, this is so Soviet. This is exactly how the Soviet Union used to take out their premiers. And then soon thereafter, Barack Obama, and already, whether he knew it or not, he's endorsed Kamala Harris to be the nominee. And Hillary and Bill Clinton came out and announced they support Kamala Harris to be the nominee, which means some deals have been cut. And then Barack Obama came out and he said, I'm sure the convention will nominate someone interesting, refusing to endorse Kamala Harris, even though the word is that Michelle Obama has been working behind the scenes with Kamala Harris. So we've got it shows the degree of disconnect of the media and the Democratic Party, that they think, though, that this will be a net winner for them. This is going to be a disaster for the Democratic Party. So, I anticipate that she will pick either the governor of North Carolina or the governor of Pennsylvania, where I'm at, where we just had the attempted assassination of President Trump, to be her nominee, potentially for vice president. But it's going to be an utter disaster for the Democratic Party. Who knows whether the convention now is a contested convention? Will it go AWOL? Will they try to do like a summary election? I mean, the delegates are like, don't worry, the Politburo has it under control. And they don't seem to understand their own voters, how this is going to, even people like AOC was like, this is a coup. Mm-hmm. This is a disaster for the Democratic Party, a far greater disaster than Biden being on the ticket. And Trump world can't stop celebrating with the champagne because they know this election is done. Kamala Harris will get crushed, much worse than Joe Biden would have got crushed. The Midwest will not be competitive anymore. This is unless they come in at the last second and replace her with, like what I said, was some surprise celebrity. It can't be George Clooney. It's got to be somebody like The Rock. Other than somebody like that bringing him in at the last minute, Democratic Party is done for. They will lose the House. They will lose the Senate. They will lose the White House. They will lose it by the biggest margin since 1996. It's going to be just an utter crushing, what they did today.
Robert, okay, so here are the thoughts that I've had. One, are they running Kamala knowing that she's going to get crushed so they can then say you should have run somebody else in 2028? Number one. Number two, the possibility of using Kamala as a pawn. Someone is enraged and does something stupid to Kamala, and they either get the pity vote or they get to play the pity card or they get to substitute her for somebody else. Three, She's been lying to the public for a very long time. If it comes out that Joe Biden has in fact been diagnosed with a dementia or whatever for a long time, and they've been concealing that, if that drops, does Kamala not have to bow out? And then, despite endorsing her, can Hillary not swoop in, I should say?
I mean, until here's the legal ramifications. So she is already asserting control over all of the hundreds of millions of dollars that have been raised for Biden. That will be contested pretty quickly with the FEC and with the courts, because I don't agree that she can just usurp those funds. The logic that she can get them that no one else, it's undisputed, no one else could get them, is that the funds were raised for the Biden-Harris ticket. The problem is they weren't. She wasn't those funds were raised for Biden-Harris back in 2020, between July and November of 2020. Since then, they've been raised for Biden as under his old campaign committee. And so to just transfer those right over to Kamala Harris is problematic, because those people were giving money to Biden. And Biden wasn't even locked into picking Harris again, right? I mean, he could, but he always could have said no at the last minute too. The way Kennedy was planning on jettisoning LBJ, for example. And so the way that's happened in some past cases as well. So I think the first legal issue will be her attempt to usurp all those funds. That will be contested and challenged. Second issue, in states like Wisconsin, you have to be on the ballot if you chose to pursue and you were the chosen candidate of the party, unless you were dead. Joe Biden's not dead. So there's going to be an issue about whether somebody other than Joe Biden can be placed on the ballot in Wisconsin. There's about a dozen other states where at least there's an arguable claim they cannot substitute him in. The reason they have these laws is to protect the voters of their state. That when their primary voters voted for someone, if that person was the person who was the presumptive nominee, they're locked in. So there's going to be a whole new set of issues in those states. There'll be additional legal challenges if they try to substitute out Biden's name. Then there's the third set of issues, which is the nomination itself. The Democratic Party nominees are bound under law, depending on the jurisdiction, to vote for Biden, despite his withdrawal. And so it's not clear whether they can just completely ignore the electorate of their states. And so that's going to be the third problem. Problem 4 is going to be just because Biden has endorsed Harris, those delegates, what are they bound to? So for the ones that are not bound by state law to vote for the person that they're represented, that their primary voters voted for those that are free, if you will, to vote for whomever they want, even though the nominee rules need to change, because right now they're bound to vote under the Democratic Convention rules for Biden. So theoretically, Biden has released them, but he hasn't specifically done that yet. Assuming he releases them, then those delegates pick. Now, the super delegates don't vote on the first ballot. Those are the congressmen, the senators, the big donors, the big party hacks. But if, let's say, nobody gets 50% plus 1 in that first round of voting, let's say some of the delegates are bound to vote for Biden or don't want to run into legal exposure for it. So you get some for Biden, some for Harris, some for somebody else. Then I guarantee you Whitmer's going to be whipping delegates for her. Buttigieg, unless he cuts a deal with Harris, will be whipping delegates behind the scenes for him. Newsom will likely be whipping delegates for him. Both Newsom and Whitmer have communicated to Harris that they will not be the vice presidential choice for her. Mm-hmm. So that means that they don't want to go down with that ship, as the song sings about. That's not going to be their anthem. And so what if there's less than 51% for a candidate on a second, third, or fourth ballot? All of a sudden, the superdelegates come in. And once the superdelegates come in, the party elites and the donors pick somebody. How does that look to the Democratic Party electorate? How does that look to the country? The best thing for the Democratic Party is one of two options. Either everybody gets behind Kamala Harris so it doesn't look like the complete coup that it is and the undemocratic choice that it has become. Or secondly, they pick someone that everybody loves, that they think that there's this massive enthusiasm for, that there's this thrill of excitement for. And in reality, that's only someone, in my opinion, of a celebrity status, someone like The Rock, even bigger than George Clooney, somebody, Rock, if anybody knows The Rock, he's been wanting to be president for 20 years now. Someone that the party thinks can actually beat Trump, somebody that they can sell the steal to, that they could say that the public would believe actually won. This is Tucker Carlson's point. The hardest problem for the Democratic Party stealing the 2024 election is that no one will believe it. They need someone that the people would believe actually won it and that it wasn't stolen. Kamala Harris ain't fitting that bill. Hillary Clinton ain't fitting that bill. Gavin Newsom ain't fitting that bill. Whitmer ain't fitting that bill. None of the traditional people listed fit that bill. It would only be Michelle Obama doesn't fit that bill. So they need someone extraordinary. So if they're, Obama seems to be hinting at that, right? He says, I have no doubt someone incredible is going to show up suddenly. Well, that means Obama's been coordinating behind the scenes to make sure that person shows up. So I would say if I were the deep state, I would have already had that candidate lined up before I pushed Uncle Joe out the door, pushed Uncle Joe from the train. Uncle Joe, by the way, will be bitter about this for forever. Don't underestimate this man's rage, anger, and resentment. But it does show you one thing. Once a Kennedy runs for president, the Democratic incumbent always resigns from running for re-election because Papa Robert Kennedy got old LBJ to jump from running for re-election. And now Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. runs, and all of a sudden Joe Biden steps out. And I think, by the way, that's the reason why they never allowed a competitive primary when they knew Uncle Joe, Papa Joe, was no longer mentally with it, is they were scared that Robert Kennedy would win the primaries. So that they were like, okay, let's lock this down for Joe to make sure Robert Kennedy Jr. does not get the nomination, and we, the elites, can handpick our candidate. Last time that happened was 1968. It happened in a town known as Chicago, and it was a shit show of all shit shows.
Robert, now that you mentioned RFK, and I listened to his pre-stream live conference, and he answered the question as to whether or not he would, participate in a contested convention, and he said, "I'm happy where I am." Could he even compete in a contested election for the Democrats?
They can nominate anybody, right? I mean, the rules of the Democratic National, if they get around the issue of the delegates that are locked in under state law to support who voted for in the primary, they can get past that issue. If they officially release the delegates, if Biden officially releases his delegates, those delegates are free to vote for anybody. There's no limits then under the Democratic National Committee rules. Now, there's still state law issues about the timing of the disclosure of the ballot of the choice. If they're trying to build drama, they need to build a drama in a way that either ratifies Harris or ratifies this new outsider that nobody thought about, right? To change if it's Harris, because they need as minimal complaint from within the Democratic Party as possible. The fact Hillary came out so quickly behind Harris told me that they'd already cut a deal. So, give them credit. But that Obama did means Obama's not yet on script.
Let me stop you there. What would a deal that Hillary cuts, what would that look like? What is Hillary's interest in all of this?
Power. That's what her
so
interest is.
A position in the next cabinet, a position in the next administration?
They're people. There's a lot of Clinton allies located throughout government and many located outside of government that would like power within government. And, maybe a little ambassadorship for Bill to help things out with the Global Foundation. It's something significant. I mean, Hillary already got Secretary of State, so I don't know what would be higher, but definitely for their people. But some deal was cut because that was real quick. And the Clintons don't come out and do that sort of thing without leverage first. And so I have no doubt. And I mean, to give you folks an idea, Biden's campaign manager was on 2 hours before he announced his stepping down, saying he was not stepping down. The entire campaign team and the entire White House staff had no idea. So, I mean, that's what a Soviet-style coup this was. If Joe had made this decision himself, he would have talked to his own people first. He didn't. That means, and in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if someone signed that letter and posted it. Just said, "Sorry, Joe." And I think what you had talked about, I think the next pressure point was they were going to leak his medical records.
Mhm.
That, there's been many stories out there from Penn and other places that there were doctors that had provided services for him over the last year of Parkinson's related dementia, that they were going to keep escalating until Joe capitulated. The question is, what's the backup plan? I mean, I get why Harris thinks this works, and maybe she's cut a deal with Buttigieg as well. And, she needs to cut a deal with all these people. She hasn't. There's no chance to cut a deal with Newsom. They hate each other. That goes way back. Didn't cut a deal with Whitmer, I'm sure. But has cut a deal with the rest. But clearly, I mean, if Michelle Obama's working with her, why is Barack Obama not endorsing her right away? So something's AWOL there. I suspect that, Barack Obama's the more deep state aligned. I mean, Hillary's deep state aligned, but it's a different part of the deep state. Barack Obama is tighter to the big tech world, tighter to the Wall Street world, the financial sector, and the sort of elite professional managerial class. Your Macrons of the world, right? Hillary's more old school types that they're connected to. So so my assumption is somewhere in there that Barack Obama may have alternative plans. I don't think it's Michelle Obama is the alternative plan. I think the alternative plan would be, Obama, whatever you want to say about him, is in a certain way smart. He's an arrogant prick, but he is a certain way, kind of way smart. He would know they need somebody completely out of left field. They need somebody that no one has even thought about or considered. Because all the other people, they've polled them now for 2 years. They're all underwater. They're all less popular than Biden. There were some people out there saying, Biden drops out, and the other candidate won't get any of Biden's negatives. They're all wrong. They get all of Biden's negatives because they're Democratic Party negatives. They get none of Biden's positives. They polled it this past week, and when Harris or anybody else was put on the ticket, Trump jumps 3 to 5 points in every single state, and even bigger margins in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. These states are no longer even competitive. Not only that, these states have Senate races down ballot. It is a disaster for Democrats in the Senate if this is the case. And by the way, Schumer wants to be president. He's been telling everybody that. So if they want to avoid a disaster at the convention, they need to, within the next 10 days, either get everybody aligned with Harris and do some bogus, we'll do an agreed poll or serve, but it's not like they can suddenly schedule primaries everywhere. That's not possible. Or caucuses everywhere. So they need some public pretext to rally behind Harris or rally behind whoever the surprise alternative is. Or they're going to have a complete disaster in Chicago, which they may have anyway, because these delegates are all Biden delegates. Very few of them are Harris delegates. Very few of them are Obama delegates. Very few of them are Hillary delegates. They come from the old corrupt Democratic Party that Joe Biden, the old machine that Joe Biden represented. They know if they go into Chicago without a pick, without consensus, it's going to be, they are coordinating. The case came down in Northern District of Illinois this week. They've already given huge discretion to local police to prohibit protesters from anywhere near the convention on the grounds of security risk, right? So, they do not want Chicago 1968 all over again. But they're going to get it unless they act fast.
Let me bring this up. Here's the letter from our locals community. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Horse crap. Today, America has the strongest economy. I'm going to skip through a bunch of stuff. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so he's done a bunch of good stuff. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic. Yada, yada. We're revitalized, strengthened. Okay, fine. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, no crap, 14 million people voted already. I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country. I believe it is in the best interest for my party. It's interesting. Party over country. Literally, I said I was going to steal that. Who said that? Someone smart said that. Party over country, literally in the phrasing. For me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. Oh, no reason. They're just doing it. I will speak to the nation later this week, more detail. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude. Yada, yada, yada. I want to thank President Kamala Harris. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation for the American people. I believe today, as I always have, there's nothing America can't do, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't endorse her in this statement, but this is what we should be looking at here. Look at the signature and pay attention to that. And let me just pull up
It's the end of the signature that's different than his normal signature.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to
The signature is easy to copy because it's very
well, I presume he has a digital signature, but this is what one signature comes up as, and this is another one, Joseph R. Biden Jr. None of these look like the signature that we just saw on that statement. I don't know what this is. So very interesting. He does not endorse Kamala in that statement, but comes out in a tweet afterwards to say it.
Whoever's running
Holy hell.
says it, yeah.
Holy hell. Okay, well, now Kamala, Robert, is currently trading at 82 cents. Would you think that it's a good bet to bet against Kamala Harris at this point in time?
I wouldn't bet against at this point in time. She's the most logical choice. Well, like I said, if I was running the Democratic Party, I'd be recruiting someone like The Rock because I need a game changer. You know, I need someone from totally outside the conventional names, someone who the party delegates would say, oh, yeah, I could see him winning, someone who will stick to the script and obey the relevant rules. And it would be somebody like that. Some people said George Clooney, but he comes across as too much of a prick. So I just don't see him being quite that.
But Robert,
in his day, Robert Redford, but not now. Paul Newman in his day, but not now. Also, those guys can be independent. So I think now, of course, it would be smart for them to nominate Robert Francis Kennedy Jr. or Tulsi Gabbard, of course, but there's zero chance they're going to be doing that. There's no way in the world that the deep state is going to allow a race to come down to Trump versus Kennedy, because then it's deep state screwed. That's not happening. So it's either going to be Kamala Harris or a surprise outsider. That would be, but I would say 82, 85% chance that seems right. Given I think she's at minus 900 in the offshore books. That strikes me as about accurate.
I like George Clooney would have to have his head examined to do this, having seen what was done to Donald Trump. Like, set aside the slander, all of the lawfare. Like, he wants to enjoy his wealth. He wants to enjoy his celebrity. So does The Rock. They don't want literal bullets flying at them like they just saw with Trump. So I don't think I think I would bet against Kamala. I think it's going to be something of a Hillary. They're going to leak something bad on Kamala, force her resignation, or force the substitution, or it's going to be contested, in which case, who the hell knows what's going to happen? It'll be wild.
The problem for the Democratic Party is any contested convention is a disaster. Anything that pushes out Kamala Harris for anyone but an absolute exceptional replacement is a disaster. They're kind of stuck. This was why I said all along it didn't make sense for them to actually pull this. To push Biden out makes them much weaker electorally, much weaker in the court of public opinion, much weaker as a party. It creates some divisions that might never be cured. I mean, but it doesn't surprise me from the perspective that the Obama and Clinton wings of the party are completely disconnected from reality. The media is completely disconnected from reality. They think they handpick presidents anyway, and so they don't understand that the party is unpopular as a party. They don't understand that it's the party's policies that make them unpopular. Changing chairs on the Titanic ain't stopping it from sinking. So they need a rescue is what they need. And it's somebody totally out of left field would be the only kind of person who could rescue them at this moment. And to me, for them to make this choice says that that they may have somebody like that, given what Obama put out. Because otherwise, this is a dumb choice. This is political suicide. I get all the problems with Biden and his mental health and his mental acuity, but he was still well liked amongst a group of voters that could keep the election close. That Hillary's more unpopular. The Harris is way more unpopular. Newsom is way more unpopular. Whitmer would do fine in Michigan. She's not going to do well anywhere outside of Michigan. So, they don't have a substitute. They never did. I mean, this was why, practically speaking, the smart polls were consistently saying replacing Biden is not really a viable option. Well, now they pulled that trigger. Let's see what a disaster it breeds, because that's what I think is coming. It's Democratic disaster.
Well, I think something is going to come out about Kamala that's going to take her out of the political running, some Hillary Clinton dirt that's going to be leaked, and then Hillary and Whitmer, and maybe I think Michelle Obama is going to be
Even they would get crushed.
Yeah, but at least they get to say
be twice as big as it would have been over Biden.
But at least then they get to say we have a younger, well, not with Hillary, but with Michelle Obama. Like, oh yeah, it'll be hope and change 2.0. And plus, she fits
She doesn't sell well. She doesn't. She's never. There's a reason why Barack kept her off the campaign trail more often than not. The goodwill around Barack never translated to her, and it's always been a real limitation. She hates people as a general rule.
Yeah.
So they could try to put her up, but in a debate, she'll do worse. And there was already a suspicion in the working class Midwest, skepticism about Barack. It's 10 times higher with her. So does she want to get humiliated by losing to Donald Trump? I mean, do you know how humiliating that would be for Michelle Obama to lose to him? That would, no chance. Hillary's already lost to him, so she doesn't care if she lost to him again. She thinks that he got stolen from her the first time. But all these people if the Democratic Party is so delusional, they think the core part of their problem is Biden's mental health. They got a wake-up call coming in November.
Let me read a bunch of the chats before we get into, and I'm going to get to the locals after this, but before we get into the assassination attempt and the updates here, Lee Walden, considering all what's going on, seems to me that law of war and devolution and COG is in a play. Okay, I don't know what that means, but thank you. Okay, Spoke 159. What about De Niro for Prez? He was the celeb the Dems dragged out a few weeks ago. That would be
well. He likes women like Kamala, especially if they walk all over him and bring some whips.
I know some rumors about what's his face about him that taught me a new word, but I won't say it today's show. Jay Bats, my guess is Matthew McConaughey. No, none of these people want want to endure what they've just seen.
That wouldn't be a bad choice. But see, think like let's put our Democratic Party or deep state hats on. That's who we're looking for. We're looking for a celebrity out of left field that's as charismatic as Trump, that has a big ego, that's willing to play ball. They might be nervous about McConaughey because McConaughey has a tendency to do his own thing, right? The Rock, you could figure that boy, you could put a leash on him. He would jump whenever you say jump. But you need a celebrity. You'd want a celebrity that's charismatic, that the country could rally behind, that the deep state feels comfortable will play ball. That's the only person who can win.
Well,
there's no elected Democratic official who fits that category. Because even Tulsi Gabbard's no longer elected, and there's no way they'll do Gabbard or Kennedy because the deep state hates them.
Well, or a celebrity that they have sufficient blackmail on that their reluctance doesn't matter anymore, or the risk of them not complying doesn't apply anymore. I'm with Jack Posobiec on this. I demand proof of life. Barnes is right. This sounds fishy and most definitively very Soviet. Just goes to show you how far these people have gone. Pray they lose 2024. Be controversial regarding the third shooter conspiracy. We're going to get to that in a second. I did my own audio analysis. The results surprised me. Let me know if you want to see my work. Crooks only fired 6 shots. Randy Edward, one of Biden's younger brother's statement, noted to that effect his support of the president and is looking forward to spending time with Joe for whatever time he has left. Ominous. Marty Smith fan. Robert De Niro, will not risk being too confident of a win against Harris. I fear a repeat of 2022 red wave arrogance. I still think it's 50-50 election as much as I thoroughly like your take on Harris. Stop saying that it's won. We have the same thing in 2020 and 2022, and we got screwed. Gotta vote, says E. Taylor 67. Nobody's denying that. Mobilize the base. Every Trump supporter should become a Trump voter now. Broad Sattva. What about the Wes Moore guy? Maryland governor, deepest of the deep states. He's been getting some media coverage throwing shade on Vance. Who's Wes Moore? I want a little more of Wes Moore, but I mean, who's Wes Moore, Robert?
I don't know.
Okay. Why is no one concerned about Donald John Trump talking about naming BlackRock CEO Fink as head of Treasury, Chase CEO Diamond head of the Fed, Teal handpicked Vance, and Teal handpicked Vance? This is the swamp. It's like he learned nothing.
I'll get into the Vance stuff. That's utter nonsense about Vance.
Pork Chop Express with 55 there. Viva, please invite Peak Prosperity Chris Martinson. He's been on twice now. Crowdsourcing the investigation into the assassination attempt. The audio breakdown, 3 to 4 shooters also predicted the COOF lockdowns. Some crumbs, but okay, I think we got the rest of these. JD Vance is owned by Peter Thiel. Trump to make sure Willie Brown as an attack vector. Instead, he could say Kamala has been waxing philosophical and call her waxing Kamala. Do you think Bernie Sanders will try again only to have his vote screwed over by Hillary, V6 Neon? Bernie is out, right? There's no chance of Bernie?
Oh, no, but Bernie could still throw his hat in the ring if he doesn't like where things are going.
Can you do a vid on the Wall Street short by Wall Street company, partly owned by Bushes, Bakers, and BlackRock, all deep state actors in the billions of dollars? Yeah, I think they explained away their short selling DJT stock as it wasn't actually shorted. It was just a clerical error or an administrative error. Would love to believe the left. Why would anyone believe the left when they now know they were being lied to the whole time? Crazy. Absolutely. They've been used and abused. Use the 25th. Whenever there's a vacancy in the office of the president shall nominate a vice president who shall take, upon confirmation, the majority of both houses. J.D. Vance called it when he delayed. Okay, the rest we got here, I think. Sunday night fun, mystery purpose. Robert, before we get into the law stuff, this is what we'll end with before we move over to Rumble. The updates on the assassination attempt. Have you been following this throughout the week?
Yeah, so I did a video on Friday afternoon with George Gammon on his Rebel Capitalist show, and did a breakdown of what we then knew and laid out the argument against the official narrative, or to express skepticism towards it, kind of a hush-hush, if you will. That video's blown up. It's gone viral. The interest level in this is obviously very substantial. People have their doubts and skepticism about what happened. We now have, since then, reports from Senator Hawley, who went to the scene, Senator Ron Johnson, who got more information, and the other information coming out from a range of sources. Chris Martinson of Peak Prosperity did his analysis of the audio. Some others have done. Alex Jones had somebody on and Owen Schroyer had somebody on at InfoWars doing audio breakdown. And so the short analysis, the official narrative is that Thomas Crooks, a 20-year-old local in Butler, came in, snuck into the rally, climbed the roof, was in a position that was difficult to see by other snipers, fired shots at President Trump, killed one person, severely injured another, hit President Trump in the ear, and because Trump just happened to turn his head at the last second, or he would have been killed at the scene. Mm-hmm. And then that the counter sniper team took out Crooks, and that's all there is to it. Then the CIA leaked a story over the last weekend that Iran was conspiring to kill President Trump.
Which, if I may add, casts even more doubt on the official narrative of the security failure, knowing that Iran was trying to take him out. But we'll move on. All right. I mean, take it from there.
Yep. So the skepticism toward that is how did that come about in the first place? That this individual is a 20-year-old individual with no apparent social media history. They haven't somehow been able to get into his phone. Apparently he had a drone over the rally scene that nobody did anything about, so that he could scout out the entire scene. That he was seen as a suspicious figure by both other rally attendees and local police, who relayed that information to Secret Service more than a half hour before he went over to the building. That the building was completely unsecured. He's filmed walking around the building, looking around. Then he's able to go up the ladder because there was no security there, climbs on top of this building. Local police go up and see him there with a gun. He points a gun at them. They immediately communicate that information to everyone, including, that is their understanding from most recent reports, Secret Service. And yet and this is before Trump took the stage. Mm-hmm. So that the Secret Service knew, according to the local police report, that there was a man with a gun on a roof just 100 yards away from President Trump. And yet they did not tell him, as President Trump himself relayed this weekend, no one told him that there was any risk. Nobody told him there was any threat. This information was not relayed to him. Had it been relayed to him, he would not have gone on stage, as he himself confirmed. So he goes on stage, nobody does anything until the shots are fired. Then they go on stage and pull him down. Now, there's the key to understanding all of this, and why I believe that there is some culpable culprit inside the Biden administration and inside the Secret Service, is two levels. One level is, despite them lying about it, it came out in both the Washington Post and the New York Times that the security team around Trump had been requesting for 2 years that he had an elevated threat level that was way beyond norm for a former president because he was becoming a future presidential candidate, and they had requested enhanced security, enhanced personnel. There's multiple personnel you have at a Secret Service proceeding. So you have the counter assault team. Those are the people that are immediately responding to protect the president's life right at the scene. You have counter surveillance, right? These are people often in plain clothes that are occupied around that. They find out, okay, somebody's suspicious, boom, let's follow them. Maybe we got to grab them, we grab them. And the counter sniper team as just 3 of those elements. There's somebody who comes in days in advance who does all the planning, who says, okay, here's where our risk points are, here's where our vulnerabilities are, here's how we're going to address those vulnerabilities. Usually they use helicopters and drones to help address those vulnerabilities. They come up with where they're going to employ local police, how they're going to employ local police, how they're going to manage communications between every member of the security team. They have the counter surveillance team there, the counter sniper team there, and the counter assault team there, all organized in such a way as to minimize risk. And this includes using things like big buses or other vehicles to block potential pathways and all the rest. And so any building that's a risk, they don't put somebody on the roof because there's too many rooftops, and they don't want somebody on the roof where the counter sniper team doesn't know whether that's one of their guys or somebody else. So they want to make the roofs clear, other than the roofs that are occupied by counter snipers, by securing the building. And that's done way in advance. And if anybody suspicious comes on, the counter surveillance team can take corrective, immediate remedial action and employ local resources as part of that. What we now know is that almost none of that happened. That there was not adequate personnel present. That there was not, that according to Senator Ron Johnson's report, they didn't even have a communication. Secret Service didn't even show up for the meeting that morning to figure out how they were going to coordinate with local police about any suspicious activity that took place. There was not a consistent relay of communications between the Secret Service and the local police. There were not sufficient counter sniper teams. The counter sniper teams were not located in the right location to look at all risk ratios. And most significantly, there was no action taken to secure that building, and no action taken when they were told there was a man with a gun on a roof 100 yards away from President Trump. That means to me, either the person who planned the security for that day on behalf of the Secret Service, or the person who implemented it. We now know that several of the Secret Service people were substituted out with DHS people who are not skilled or experienced in protection in this way. We now know that several members of Trump's traditional team were given off and were not there that day. We know several of the high-quality Secret Service agents that know that area were reassigned to either Jill Biden somehow holding a fundraiser on the same day in the same state, and apparently Kamala Harris was holding a fundraiser in the same day in the same state, both a little unusual, but that these officers were reassigned so that it was an undermanned unit without its traditional Trump knowledgeable, Trump loyal, you might say, Secret Service staffers, and that the plan itself created multiple levels of vulnerability, and that had to be a deliberate choice in the personnel, deliberate choice in the quantity and quality of the personnel, and most importantly, a deliberate choice to not secure a building, to not provide consistent, quick communications, to not provide immediate corrective action when notice was made of a dangerous sniper. They didn't even have the counter sniper teams in the right locations. Excuse me. So I have no doubt it was an inside job. But I do break it down a little bit further with George Gammon. And probably on Thursday, we'll be breaking down all of the issues, but putting it in sort of a global context of other assassinations and assassination attempts over history and time. With the Duran, I think it'll be on Thursday. Don't know if that date works for them. It's the first date that works for me. But, because the America's unique in always having, for the most part, in these lone assassins, right? The lone crazy person going to kill somebody, that's not a common assassination thing throughout world history. Just somehow unique. It always happens in America for some reason. It's always interesting too. These lone assassins, they always target people that are critical of the political establishment, critical of the military-industrial complex, critical of the financial and political elites in their local, right? For some reason, it's never the case that they ever target the head of the Federal Reserve. They never target the corrupt generals that get us involved in dumb wars. Somehow those people never end up on the crazies list, which is its own reasons for skepticism about these kind of controlled narratives. There's a weird dynamic. It was originally publicly reported that this individual, the alleged alleged shooter, had posted some things on a game that was involved, that originated from 2016, where it's about, can the Secret Service protect the president? And the president's obviously a Donald Trump character. And supposedly this kid was playing on this game and made statements about he would show how good he is on July 13th. And then all of a sudden that story disappeared. And now they're saying, oh, that was like a fake account. We're getting a lot of inconsistent, contradictory stories, claims of encrypted accounts, encrypted phones, encrypted communications. And then all of a sudden, saying, oh, no, that wasn't the case. Attempts to blame local police, and local police saying they were deliberately excluded from all mechanisms of security and surveillance. The only reason the one local cop saw him is because he breached the protocols that the Secret Service had given him. Why was the Secret Service interested in excluding local police from protective detail when they were already understaffed? Might it be because Butler County is a very Republican county, where you don't control the DA, you don't control the local cops, you don't control them? Now, of course, state of Pennsylvania, where I'm currently in, Governor Shapiro might have been a willing complicit ally in various aspects. You might have had confidence that the state police would play ball, but local police, you couldn't have such confidence. So all of the evidence points to, as President Trump himself hinted at, that something happened at the various high ranks within people of power. And sometimes people say, oh, Barnes, that means everybody has to be in on it. Not at all. The counter sniper team may have known nothing. They were just following their assignment. The counter assault team may have known nothing. They were just following their assignment because somebody prevented the communications in a timely manner. Somebody was controlling that part of the process. It's the person who put the plan in and or implemented that plan that is the person we need to be talking to and getting more intel on.
And who would that be? I mean, is it, what's her face, Kim Cheadle, among others, or did she?
No, she's the head of the Secret Service, so she wouldn't have been the person to do the plan right there at the scene. So Cheadle may have her culpability because she refused to assign adequate resources to President Trump, just as she refused to provide any Secret Service resources to Robert Kennedy Jr. As I said last week, it's been clear that Joe Biden has wanted his opponents killed. I mean, it's obvious. But how it happened on the ground in this instance, how this kid gets involved, what was really going on, those things raise additional questions. And I think the timing of it, once President Trump was nominated, they were going to be required by law to provide him more resources, Secret Service resources. He would have also been on the ballot, guaranteed, he would have chosen his successor. So I think the timing was to have this incident occur right before that. And how did this 20-year-old kid know and got confirmation that he could just carry he could go walk around, scoping everything out, have his drone scope everything out, then walk over the ground, say hi to everybody almost, and then climb up and get his gun ready? How did he know that was going to happen on that day? So to me, there's almost no way it can happen without a sequence of extraordinarily unlikely coincidences involving whoever was planning and implementing the agenda. It doesn't mean anybody else on the scene necessarily was involved at all. You might have had some people with questionable competence and capabilities, but then the question is who put them there. That's the more important, consequential question. So,
and whether or not we're going to ever find out that this kid was known to the FBI or groomed. I mean, I appreciate Martinson's analysis that there's multiple shooters or at least multiple shots. They clearly sound like different firearms. They come in different, one, two. His Martinson's verbal method of making the gun sounds is very good. Like he does it like almost like a beatboxer. I also believe that there were at the very least two, if not three, different firearms shot, because you can hear it with your own ears. People are hypothesizing whether or not it's because the mic was pointed in a different direction, but the echo's different. The way they are shot off sounds different. And we don't yet know if the snipers took multiple shots to take out Crooks or if it was only the one last shot, in which case there's 8 to, 11 shots that need explaining.
And who is the man in the gray suit, right? It's come out that there was some guy in a gray suit who was not Secret Service, who they thought was Secret Service, who went up on the roof and said and instructed, hey, send this photo to this phone number of the shooter, and then walked off the roof. And there's been no clarity on who the heck he was. There's some discussion that it has some connection to ATF.
Hold on, say what this man on the gray suit, with the gray suit said on the roof.
He instructed them to take a photo of the dead assailant, and he told them what phone number to send it to. And they thought they were doing this on behalf of the Secret Service. Turns out the man in the gray suit didn't work for the Secret Service. It turns out, apparently, the latest report is that the phone number they sent it to was to someone in the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. And in order to run his identity is the official narrative. But like, who the heck is the guy in the gray suit? So, I mean, we got lots of weird stories and information circulating. They have basically shut down meaningful press conferences on this. I don't have any confidence in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, the local county has some good, sharp people. And, we might look into it at 1776 Law Center, because in the state of Pennsylvania, you can petition the court to have certain people investigated or indicted without regard to the district attorney's office. And the court can order the prosecutor to prosecute and investigate. So it gives you this sort of extraordinary potential access of using making sure the criminal authorities do the proper investigation. And I think there's good reasons to want that done here, because the official narrative isn't really holding up very well.
Seems I've somehow switched off to the bad mic, back on the good mic. Robert, one of my concerns is that there's a lot of information, disinformation, that I feel that they're throwing a crap out there
in
order to get
it. I mean, it was interesting to me, this guy. So Bill Ackman, quoted somebody. First, he quoted what Martinson's report, and then he quoted this other guy who was like, "Oh no, it's a lone shooter, and I can give you the simulation and show you the lone shooter." Mm-hmm. But then you look that guy up, right? And the guy that's saying it's definitely a lone shooter, he lists his office address as Langley, Virginia. And then you go to his Substack, and his Substack appears to be blaming Russia for Nord Stream 2, the Nord Stream pipeline bombing. And that made me think, okay, now I'm really doubting the lone shooter story. When boys from Langley start telling me that the ones that are trying to tell me that Russia blew up its own pipeline, it's saying, don't worry, everybody, it was a lone shooter. I'm going to be even more skeptical of what took place. So whatever it is, there was an extraordinary security breach for which the more logical explanation is deliberate action than pure random accident. That's what I feel confident saying at this point. We don't know a lot of the rest of the information. We won't know. We're going to get bombarded with both disinformation and accurate information in terms of sourcing, in terms of storyline, and all the rest. And they're going to do that deliberately to make it difficult for us to ever put together what happened. They tried to keep Senator Hawley from investigating at the scene. That's suspicious. The Secret Service director refused to answer questions of United States senators and congressmen right at the Republican National Convention. Word is, and rumor is, she's going to step down before she has to respond to a subpoena to Congress to testify on the matter. I hope Congress uses their power. I mean, the other aspect of this we have is that there appear to have been, and there's inconsistent information on this, but there appears to have been people shorting the Trump stock in the days and weeks leading up to this event. And at first, we were on Tim Pool, and Tim Pool was discussing it. That company that appeared to have a massive short on Trump stock, and a short, for those people who don't know, is you're betting the stock is going to take a massive decline very quickly. Of course, had Trump been murdered, that Truth stock would have plummeted because it is so tied to Trump. And someone was betting that was about to happen. And the bet was placed after it was known his sentencing date had changed, or at least appeared to be. Now, the company that was listed as placing one of those big bets came out and said it was a technical error and said that they just added a bunch of zeros. And people have noted that this company never made that mistake before. So there's suspicions about that. But independent of that, and that company it's my understanding, it was based in Austin, Texas. That gives Texas jurisdiction to investigate what took place here. But the other component is there were people who've done independent assessments of activity in Trump stock, regardless of this other company making this particular short, that appeared to suggest there were major shorts going on in the days leading up to the assassination in terms of the price of Trump stock. So these people cannot help themselves. They love to line their own pockets. It tends to be a way to incentivize people to participate or be complicit or keep their mouth shut. For 9/11, there were people shorting the airline stocks has never been satisfactorily explained, to my opinion. They've had various explanations for this, but I've not bought them. But that's another angle to pursue. But I think bad faith actors tried to assassinate President Trump. And I think Trump made the corrective remedy by accelerating his nomination to early Monday, to picking someone like J.D. Vance, who, contrary to that useful idiot Whitney Webb, is a great populist choice. Here I disagree with Robert Kennedy as well. I think Robert Kennedy's been listening to Whitney Webb. That's an unreliable source, to say the least. We'll get into that. And then doubling down on a much more populist message. Now, he's floated some names for appointments that I'm not a fan of, and then we can discuss that a bit later. But I think Trump interpreted it as a coordinated effort to take him out. But the whole truth we'll probably never get, unfortunately.
All right, what we're going to do now, we are going to go over to Rumble. Let me give everybody the link. We're going to end this on YouTube and Twitter. But while I do that, link is pinned in the chat. Before we do that, there's a super chat. If in Trump's RNC speech, he specifically said that the Secret Service sniper took him out with a single shot. There was some question as to whether or not that is the case as well. Hunter will be peace, no longer be first son. Okay, but hold on. But
there's even questions as to whether that person is the person they're saying he is. That
I've seen as well. But like, again, I don't want to. A lot of this, I believe, is muddying the water so that somebody repeats.
We don't know. Yeah, I mean that's the core problem. We know we can't trust the people who are investigating.
Yeah, that's for sure. We got an I don't know what that tweet link is to, from CJ Daggs. Everyone coming over to Rumble or coming over to vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Trump played Nessun Dorma at the end of RNC. The sum of all fears when all traitors of the deep state actors were executed. Is that Trump's message?
I don't think there was any hidden message in that particular choice.
Breaking news: Joe Manchin registered back to Democrat to run for POTUS. I tried to Google that, didn't see that. Dark Horse celebrity guest Ellen DeGeneres. Oh, Dark Horse celebrity. Sorry, I thought you meant on the Dark Horse podcast. Ellen DeGeneres. I can't remember. Okay. I understand that Trump had private security team everywhere he went. Were they there that day? Snuggle struggle. That was from Christine in Texas. Snuggle struggle. They all knew the threat. They obviously leaked this intel and let it happen. Why else would all of establishment media cover this specific rally when they refused to cover Trump rallies before? That I wanted to double check as to whether or not Doug Mills was at prior Trump rallies, whether or not CNN was live streaming other Trump rallies. More details on locals. I live in rural Virginia and I'm currently in a fight with the zoning board trying to force me to get rid of my classic cars. They claim I'm running an illegal junkyard. Old equals junk. They intended it to be a Friday computer outage as an Iranian cyber attack to solidify support for a war with Iran after Trump had been killed. 1-2 punch to get to war. Barnes, can you talk about the Title 50 USC and the security state? Annie Jacobson goes deep into her book, Surprise, Vanish, Kill. All right. What we're going to do now, we're going to end it. Actually, let me before we fall too far behind, I'll get a bunch of the rants, not the tips in vivabarneslaw.locals.com. Frank Beans says they need Biden alive for the October surprise to bolster the Democrat perceived vote. See about that. S. Ren, it's easier than you think. One person in the right position can manipulate the personnel, worst of the worst. Tell protection team leader the locals have a security issue and don't trust them, and use new people so you can advise and adjust their plan, leaving holes. Easy to create confusion using positions of power. Going up, we got Judy Hodgkin says, Josh Hawley is saying whistleblowers tell him the problem is not just the Secret Service. The majority of the security detail were DHS, Department of Homeland Security. I believe they answer to Alejandro Mayorkas. Looks to me like the United States Secret Service focus is a diversion. And question for Barnes, do you think Trump is safe now, from the CCO? Robert, what do you think about that?
Well, the ability to take the consequence of taking him out now is more problematic for him, and so I think it will be much. I think that was their one best shot, and you know, whatever you attribute to, spiritual or otherwise, he turned his head at just the right time.
Brandon Herrera did an amazing video where he showed in slow motion and made the actual shot. I won't show it because it's an impeccable video, and I don't want to show the crux of his hard work. So Brandon Herrera, I'll send the link around. I think it's that's it. Brandon Herrera, go check it out. It's amazing. All right, we are going to end on. We're going to go to Rumble and Local, so it's going to end on YouTube and Twitter. VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. The audio will be on podcast on Viva Barnes Law for the People on Podbean and wherever else Podbeans are things. I'll post the entire stream to Viva Clips on YouTube tomorrow. And that's it. We're off. We're going to the free speech platform, Rumble, and VivaBarnesLaw.locals.com. Update.